You know that feeling when everything seems normal, good, even that was me, just a few weeks ago. 25, living with my girlfriend Sarah and my buddy Mark. Yeah, my roommate. We'd been friends since college, shared this apartment for 2 years. Sarah and I, coming up on 3 years together, felt solid, secure, like I had my little tribe. You know, we'd cook dinners together, watch movies, joke about the weird neighbors. Just life. Comfortable. Then, something tiny shifted, a weird vibe between them sometimes. A shared glance that lasted a second too long. Laughs that felt just a bit too private. I brushed it off, told myself I was imagining things, being paranoid. Mark's my friend. Sarah loves me. Why would I even think that? But that little seed of doubt, it starts to grow, doesn't it? It eats at you. I wasn't snooping through her stuff. I swear it was pure, stupid accident. She left her laptop open on the couch one night, logged into Reddit. Not her main account I knew about though. A different username. Something unfamiliar and kinda cryptic. Curiosity got the better of me. Just a quick glance, I thought. Maybe she had a secret hobby or something harmless, but it wasn't harmless. Not even close. The posts, they were dated. Going back months. 6 months, to be exact. Detailed. Horrifyingly, painfully detailed. Stories about secret meets. About stolen moments in our own damn apartment. About the thrill of the risk. And the name she kept mentioning. The guy she was writing about, bragging about, sneaking around with. It wasn't some stranger. It was Mark, my roommate, my friend. The guy sleeping in the room down the hall. My whole world just stopped, the words blurred on the screen. The apartment suddenly felt suffocating, filled with every lie, every betrayal happening right under my nose for half a year. My hands went numb. My heart felt like it was being ripped out. She wasn't just cheating, she was documenting it, sharing it, with him right here. And I had no idea. I just sat there, staring at the screen, completely shattered, reading my own nightmare written in her own words. Key elements addressed. Hook starts relatable, everything seems normal. Then hints at the devastating shift. Tone, suspense. Builds tension with subtle observations, weird vibe. Shared glance and the slow burn of doubt. Characters establishes the narrator, girlfriend Sarah, and roommate Mark, and their seemingly solid relationships. Natural language uses contractions, wasn't, couldn't, rhetorical questions, why would I, and relatable phrasing, my little tribe, stupid accident. Whole world just stopped. Human-centric focuses entirely on the narrator's feelings of trust, doubt, shock, and betrayal. Keywords naturally includes girlfriend, secret Reddit, account, affair, roommate, betrayal, discovery, 6 months. Cliffhanger ends at the peak of emotional devastation and shock upon discovery, reading my own nightmare. Closing parenthesis. YouTube policy focuses on the emotional impact and discovery of betrayal without depicting explicit acts of infidelity, revenge, or promoting harmful behavior. The affair is described through its emotional consequence and the existence of the posts, not explicit details. I couldn't look away from the screen. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, but the wreckage was my own life. My fingers, cold and clumsy, scrolled. Each post was a fresh punch. She wrote about dates, not just sneaking around somewhere else, but right here, while I was working late, or maybe even just in the shower. She described the couch where we watched Netflix together, our bed. The sheer terrifying intimacy of that betrayal, happening in the spaces I felt safest, made me physically sick. A cold knot twisted in my stomach. The timeline hit hardest. 6 months, half a year. Thinking back, it explained so many little things I'd dismissed. Sarah suddenly needing more girls' nights. Mark being weirdly unavailable when she was out. That time I came home early from a cancelled work thing and found them both in the kitchen. A weird tense silence hanging in the air. They'd brushed it off, said they were just arguing about dishes. I'd believed him, God, I'd believed everything. Reading her words, it was like seeing a stranger. The Sarah I knew was sweet, maybe a little shy. This Reddit persona was different, cynical, almost bragging about the secrecy, the thrill of pulling it off under my nose. She called me oblivious in one post. That one word cut deeper than anything else. Was I? Had I been so blind, so trusting, that I missed my girlfriend and my best friend destroying everything right in front of me? The details were agonizing. Inside jokes I didn't get. Pet names she'd started using for him. Plans they'd made for a weekend getaway next month. A weekend she'd told me she was visiting her sick aunt. The lies stacked up, each one documented in cruel, casual detail. My trust in both of them, the foundation of my daily life, felt like ash. Down the hall, Mark's door clicked shut. Just a normal sound, but it jolted me like electricity. He was right there, breathing the same air. Had he been laughing at me? This whole time, were they laughing together? The apartment walls felt paper-thin, charged with every lie they'd lived. I sat frozen on the couch, the glow of the laptop screen the only light, the weight of 6 months of deception crushing me. What do you even do with knowledge like this? Confront them, scream, pack a bag and disappear. I just sat there, trapped in the horrifying quiet, the truth screaming silently in my head. Key elements addressed, continued suspense. focuses on the impact of discovery, physical sickness, realization of lies, and the proximity of the betrayers. Mark's door shutting. Deepened context explores the timeline 6 months, the locations, apartment specifics like couch, bed, kitchen, and the small signs the narrator ignored. Girls' nights. Weird silences. Character exploration. Contrasts the girlfriend's known personality with her secret Reddit persona. Sweet verses, cynical, bragging. Highlights the narrator's self-doubt, oblivious and shattered trust. Painful details include specific hurtful elements, inside jokes, pet names for the roommate, faked aunt visit without explicit content, focusing on emotional impact. Natural keywords, integrates Reddit posts. Affair details, timeline, betrayal, lies, roommate, trust issues, deception, confrontation. Naturally, unresolved tension ends with the narrator paralyzed by the discovery, hearing the roommate nearby, overwhelmed by choices and trapped in the suffocating reality of the betrayal. No action taken yet. Human-centric and natural. Uses relatable sensations. Cold, not feeling sick. Internal monologue. God, I'd believed everything. And raw reactions. What do you even do? Closing parenthesis. YouTube. Policy compliant. Focuses on the emotional fallout and discovery of the affair, not depicting explicit acts, revenge, plotting, or harmful actions. The glow from the laptop screen felt like an accusation in the darkroom. Mark's door clicking shut echoed in my head. A stark reminder he was right there, just walls away. Every breath I took felt heavy, contaminated by the lies saturating the air. My hands were still shaking. I slowly, silently, closed Sarah's laptop. That little click felt final, like sealing a coffin, my own coffin. The silence was deafening, but inside my head it was chaos. Those posts, they weren't just words anymore. They were scenes playing out in brutal HD right in front of me. Her describing the time I came home early from that conference, how they'd just made it to their own rooms in time. The inside joke about the stupid pineapple pizza we all hated. Turns out they'd ordered it deliberately the night I was out, laughing about how gross it was, and about me missing it. Little moments, tiny betrayals I'd witnessed, but misunderstood, now had this horrific crystal clear context. It explained the weird tension, the sudden inside jokes they shared that I wasn't part of, the way Sarah sometimes seemed distant, almost bored with me. Mark, my friend. We'd lived together for years, shared bills, shared beers, shared frustrations about work, about life. Had he ever been genuine? Or was every laugh, every bro hug, every how was your day, man, just a calculated act, a cover? The thought of him listening to me talk about Sarah, about our plans, about my worries, while knowing it made my skin crawl. Was he pitying me? Or worse, enjoying it? The level of deception wasn't just betrayal. It felt like psychological warfare waged in my own home. Down the hall I heard the faint sound of his shower starting, a normal, everyday sound. But now it felt loaded. Was he washing off guilt or just carrying on? The sheer normalcy of it, juxtaposed with the nuclear bomb that had just gone off in my chest, was almost unbearable. How could life just continue for him, for them? Then the front door lock clicked. My heart stopped. Sarah was home early. Panic shot through me, cold and sharp. I hadn't moved from the couch. The laptop sat innocently beside me. What was my face showing? Could she tell, just by looking at me, that I knew that her whole secret world was exposed? I heard her keys drop on the table, her familiar footsteps on the wood floor. Hey babe, her voice called out, sounding perfectly normal, maybe even cheerful. You're up late. Everything okay? The casualness of it, the utter fakeness after what I'd just read, hit me like a physical blow. I had to force air into my lungs. I couldn't look at her yet. I stared straight ahead at the blank TV screen, seeing only the words from her Reddit posts scrolling across it. Yeah, I managed, my voice sounding strange, thick, just couldn't sleep. The lie tasted like ash in my mouth. The biggest lie in the room wasn't mine though, it was hers. Every single day for 6 months. And now, I had to sit here, in the wreckage of my own life, and pretend. Just for tonight, I had to pretend. Because what other choice did I have? The truth was a grenade in my hand, and I had no idea where to throw it, or if pulling the pin would just destroy me faster. I felt her approach. The familiar scent of her perfume suddenly felt like poison. All I could do was stare into the dark reflection on the TV screen, holding my breath, waiting for the world to end. Long day, she murmured, completely unaware of the earthquake happening inside me. Long day. My mind screamed. I just found out my entire life for the last 6 months has been a carefully constructed lie between you and the guy down the hall. I could feel the heat rising in my face, the pressure building behind my eyes. I kept staring straight ahead, focusing on a smudge on the blank TV screen, terrified that if I looked at her, she'd see the raw betrayal burning in my gaze. Yeah, I choked out again, my voice tight, just ... tired. The words tasted bitter. Every normal interaction felt like a performance now, and I was the worst actor in the world. I remembered a post where she'd described this exact scenario, cuddling with me after being with him, calling it weirdly thrilling. like living a double life. The memory made my skin crawl. Then, Mark's door opened. The sound was like a gunshot in the tense silence. He wandered out towards the kitchen, shirtless, scratching his stomach, completely at ease, oblivious, or just brazen. He grabbed a glass of water, his back to us. I could see the muscles move under his skin, the same skin Sarah had described in such detail online. Love how defined his shoulders are, she'd written once. I felt physically ill. He turned, leaning against the counter, taking a long drink. His eyes met mine briefly over the rim of the glass. Did I imagine a flicker of something? Curiosity? Amusement? Or was it just my own paranoia twisting everything? "You guys look cozy," he remarked casually, his voice echoing in the suddenly cavernous living room. The sheer normalcy of it was maddening. Sarah lifted her head slightly. "Just unwinding long week for everyone, huh?" Her tone was light, friendly, too friendly. Was this how they communicated right under my nose? Innocuous words laced with secret meanings. Mark just grunted in agreement, his eyes lingering on Sarah for a beat too long before flicking back to me. "You all right, man? You look ... pale." He knows. The thought slammed into me. Or was he just noticing my obvious distress? Was this concern, or a taunt? My hands clenched into fists in my lap, hidden by the couch cushion. The urge to leap up, to scream the truth, to shatter this disgusting facade was almost overwhelming. But the fear was stronger. Fear of the fallout, fear of the humiliation, fear of what came after the explosion. What if they denied it? What if they turned it around on me for snooping? The Reddit account was proof. But the thought of exposing it, of making her secret humiliation of me public, felt like another layer of violation. Sarah shifted, turning slightly towards me, her hand resting on my knee. "Babe, Mark's right. You do look off. Are you sure you're okay?" Her brow furrowed with what looked like genuine concern. Was it real? Or was she just a master manipulator playing her part perfectly even now? Her touch, meant to be comforting, felt like a branding iron. The intimacy was grotesque. I pictured her fingers typing out those betrayals on Reddit, the same fingers now lightly squeezing my leg. My throat closed. I couldn't speak. The lies were choking me. The truth was a live wire sparking in my chest. Mark was still watching, a faint, unreadable expression on his face. Sarah's concerned gaze searched mine, waiting for an answer I couldn't give. The air crackled with unspoken accusations and 6 months of poisonous secrets. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Every second stretched into an eternity, the pressure building, the silence screaming louder than any words. One wrong move, one slip, and the fragile dam holding back the flood of my rage and pain would shatter completely. I was balanced on a knife's edge, surrounded by the two people I trusted most. Now my greatest enemies, watching me, waiting, while the bomb of their betrayal ticked down to zero inside my head. I practically bolted from the couch, mumbling something incoherent about an early meeting. The walk down the short hallway to my room felt like crossing a minefield. My back prickled, imagining them exchanging a look, a silent signal. Did they? No. Was my shock that obvious? I shut my bedroom door, leaning against it, breathing hard like I'd just sprinted a mile. The muffled sound of their voices drifted through the thin walls. Normal conversation. Or were they talking about me? About how close I'd come to breaking? Paranoia, sharp and acidic, flooded my veins. I pressed my ear against the cool wood. ... He seemed really off. Sarah's voice was low, concerned, like pale and shaky. A grunt from Mark. Probably just stress. Work's been kicking his ass. Lately, work stress. The sheer audacity of him using my life as their cover story ignited a fresh wave of fury. But then Sarah's next words froze the blood in my veins. "Yeah, maybe still. We need to be careful, especially now. Things are getting real." Her voice dropped even lower, becoming almost conspiratorial. "Did you confirm the date for the transfer? We can't afford any delays with the lease ending soon." Transfer lease. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't just about the affair anymore. This was something else, something cold and calculated. I strained to hear, my ear pressed painfully against the door. "Relax," Mark replied, his tone annoyingly calm. "It's all set. Next Friday, the account's ready. Once it clears, we're golden. Just gotta keep playing the game until then." He suspects nothing about that part. The game suspects nothing, that part. The words echoed, each one a hammer blow. A sickening realization crashed over me, worse than the initial discovery of the affair. This wasn't just a betrayal of my heart. It was a betrayal of my trust, my home, and now, my money, my future. They weren't just sneaking around behind my back. They were actively plotting, using my apartment, my trust, my relationship as a smokescreen for what? Siphoning money, planning to disappear together with my savings. The casual cruelty of it stole my breath. The Reddit posts had shown me the emotional deceit, the intimate betrayal, but this was cold, hard manipulation with a financial knife aimed at my back. Keep playing the game until then. The phrase echoed, venomous. How long had this been going on? Was the affair just a twisted bonus, or was it part of their larger scheme? Down the hall, Sarah laughed softly, a sound that now curdled my stomach. Good. Just a few more days of pretending. Then we can finally start fresh. The satisfaction in her voice was unmistakable. Pretending fresh start. With my money, using my naivety, my trust, as their stepping stone. The rage that had been simmering exploded into a white-hot inferno. It wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was a primal need for survival, for justice. They thought I was oblivious. They thought I was just a resource to be drained and discarded. The shock was gone, burned away by a terrifying clarity. The proof of the affair was devastating, but this financial treachery, this premeditated theft hidden behind stolen kisses and shared secrets in my home, this changed everything. I slid down the door, landing silently on the floor, my back against the wood. I could still hear the low murmur of their voices, planning their future built on my ruin. Next Friday, their transfer, the end of the lease. The countdown had begun, but they didn't know one crucial thing anymore. The game was over. I knew, and the oblivious, trusting guy they thought they were robbing, he was gone, now sitting in the dark, listening to the architects of my downfall whisper just feet away. Only one question burned in the suffocating silence. What was I going to do about it before next Friday? The stakes weren't just emotional anymore. They were everything. Next few days were agony wrapped in silence. I moved through the apartment like a ghost, smiling when I had to, nodding at their lies, all while the clock in my head screamed Friday. Every conversation felt like walking through broken glass. I dug deep, accessing my online banking with trembling hands late at night, hidden under my covers. The account Mark mentioned, the one supposedly ready, was mine. A joint savings Sarah and I had started for a future house, our future. He wasn't just stealing, he was erasing the dream I'd poured my heart into. I documented everything. Screenshots of her Reddit posts detailing the affair, recordings of their hushed hallway conversations about the transfer. I'd managed to capture with my phone pressed to the door, proof stacked up like bricks in a digital folder labeled simply, proof. Friday dawned gray and heavy. The air in the apartment crackled with their fake normalcy and my coiled tension. Sarah hummed while making coffee, shooting me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mark whistled in the shower. They were practically vibrating with anticipation for their fresh start. My stomach churned. I waited until they were both distracted, Sarah scrolling her public social media, Mark loudly packing a gym bag. This was it. I walked straight to Sarah's laptop, still left carelessly on the coffee table. My fingers, cold but steady, opened it. Her secret Reddit account was still logged in. My heart hammered against my ribs, a drumbeat of finality. I didn't just want to stop them. I wanted them to feel the exposure, the utter collapse of their carefully constructed world. I started typing, not as myself, but as her. Using her words, her cynical tone from the affair posts, I crafted a new confession. This one wasn't about stolen kisses, it was about stolen futures. Update. Well, this took a turn. I typed, her username glaring at me from the screen. Remember the oblivious boyfriend and the thrill? Turns out the real thrill was planning the ultimate exit strategy. 6 months of fun and 6 months of siphoning off his savings right under his trusting nose. The big transfer from our joint dream home fund to my secret account is happening. Today, Mark's been a gem handling the details. By tonight, we're gone, vanished, poof, leaving Mr. Oblivious with an empty bank account, an empty apartment, and a lifetime of wondering how he missed it all. The ultimate game, right? And we won. I added chillingly specific details, the exact amount, the target account number slightly altered for safety, but recognizable to them, the time the transfer was supposedly scheduled. Then, with a final, sickening sense of justice, I hit post. It was live, on her account, broadcasting their crime to the world she'd used to brag about the affair. I didn't wait. I grabbed the single-packed bag I'd hidden in my closet. As I walked silently back down the hall, Sarah looked up from her phone, frowning slightly. Going somewhere? Just remembered an early meeting, I said, my voice eerily calm. Big day. I held her gaze for a second longer than necessary, letting a flicker of something, not anger, not sadness, just knowing, pass through my eyes. Her smile faltered. Mark stopped packing, watching me with a sudden wariness. I walked out the front door without looking back. I didn't slam it. I closed it with a quiet, definitive click. Downstairs, I sat in my car, engine off, watching up apartment windows. My phone buzzed incessantly in my pocket, ignored. I pulled out my own phone and opened the banking app. With a few taps, initiated a different transfer. Every single cent I had personally contributed to that joint account, plus the next month's rent I'd already paid, moved securely into a new, private account. The account they thought was theirs. It was still technically joint, still had Sarah's name on it. And now, it held nothing but the digital echo of their greed, while her Reddit post, detailing their entire financial betrayal plan, was rapidly gaining traction online. 10 minutes later, chaos erupted. I saw Sarah's silhouette at the window, phone clutched to her ear, gesturing wildly. Mark appeared, shoving his own phone in her face, his expression twisted in panic. They were reading her post, their own scheme, laid bare for the internet, tied irrevocably to her username. The exposure was instant and brutal. The ultimate game had just backfired spectacularly. Their win had vanished faster than the money they thought they stole. I started the car. The final twist wasn't just stopping them, it was letting their own arrogance and secrecy destroy them. I drove away from the curb, leaving the apartment, the betrayal, and the unfolding digital implosion behind. The only thing I took, that stupid cactus from the windowsill. Mark could water it now. My future, unlike theirs, was finally free of their poison. The silence in the car wasn't empty, it was peaceful. The bomb hadn't destroyed me. I'd handed them the detonator and walked away while it blew up in their faces. Justice, served digitally, and utterly complete. The drive wasn't long, just to a cheap motel on the edge of town. It wasn't home, but it was quiet mine. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe without feeling like the air was poisoned. My phone eventually stopped buzzing, replaced by a chilling silence from their end. I didn't block them. I just muted everything, let them stew. The fallout happened fast, just like the internet always does. By that evening, screenshots of her damning Reddit update were everywhere. Relationship advice, subreddits, drama channels, even local community groups. People were furious, comments ripped into them. Financial betrayal on top of cheating. Monsters hope they get prosecuted. Reddit exposure at its finest. The username she'd used to brag about the affair was now permanently linked to their greedy scheme. Their digital footprint became their own trap. Any hope of them quietly disappearing with my money evaporated in that viral firestorm. The exposure was total, humiliating, and entirely of their own making. Financially, I was safe. My money was secure in the new account, the joint savings, officially emptied by me. I sent a single email to the landlord, attaching proof of my rent payment for the next month and a simple statement. I was vacating immediately due to untenable circumstances involving other tenants. The lease let Sarah and Mark figure that mess out. My bank records clearly showed only my contributions withdrawn. Legally, I was covered. Morally, I slept just fine. I never saw Sarah or Mark again. Heard through a distant mutual friend who was equally horrified that they imploded almost immediately. The public shaming, the sudden lack of funds, the legal gray area of their attempted theft, it shattered whatever twisted bond they had. Last I heard, they weren't even speaking, blaming each other for the catastrophic failure of their fresh start. Karma, delivered via Reddit and cold, hard financial reality. A week later I found a tiny, sunny studio apartment. It smelled like fresh paint and possibility. I placed the cactus on the windowsill. It looked small and resilient there, catching the morning light. Watering it felt symbolic, nurturing something simple that survived the toxicity. The betrayal, cut deep, no doubt. The violation of trust, the intimacy of the affair happening in my home. The cold calculation of the financial plot. It left scars. But, sitting in the quiet of my own space, the cactus, a silent witness, I realized something crucial. Surviving their deception didn't make me cynical. It made me fiercely protective of my own peace, my own worth. I learned the hard way that trust is precious, but so is recognizing when it's being weaponized against you. The closure wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, brick by digital brick, dollar by dollar, leaving their chaos far behind in the rearview mirror. The silence now. It wasn't empty. It was finally, blessedly my own. And that was everything.